Hey everybody, this is Saber Gaming from TikTok. Now, this is going to be my first ever video that I'm putting up on YouTube. Couple things I want to address really quick. I'm not going to be using a face cam for now and for the nearby future simply because I don't want to and I don't feel it necessary. If you want to see my face, and you want to see what I look like, and you want to check out other content, you can check the link in the description. It's going to link to my TikTok. But this, as I've already said, is going to be my first ever video on YouTube, and I'm really excited. Hopefully this goes well. But a couple of things I want to address about the video itself. This is a power scaling for every single class 1A student. Power meaning mental, like how smart are they? How physically strong are they? How powerful is their quirk? And how much potential do they have for growth? I'll also be like giving my own input as to how I think each character could improve. But without further ado, I would like to begin my ranking of every single Class 1A student based on power. Let's begin at number 20. Oh, by the way, the way that this video is going to work is I'm just going to use Kaminari because he's at the top left. But let's say I think that he's the worst character here. He is going to be put right here, and this means that he is the 20th. Now let's just say that Kirishima I think is the 19th. He's going to go right next to him, and it's going to stack 4, stack 4, stack 4, stack 4 all the way up. So that's the way that this video is going to work. Let's begin with the least powerful character in 1A. This one's really simple because I've actually sat down and thought about this a lot. Which character is the worst? Not the worst, the least powerful. And it's easily Hagakure, specifically because, one, her quirk isn't that strong, and her quirk isn't, it doesn't have a lot of potential. And let me explain what I mean by that. So her quirk, if you don't know already, is light refraction and not invisibility. She can refract light off of her skin, which makes her appear invisible. And she can direct this light to, like, shine in people's faces. But unlike a lot of other people who are in class 1A, her quirk barely has any combat advantages. She can like sneak up behind people and attack them, but that's only one if she's learned martial arts, and two if she's completely naked. Now, if she in the future like creates a suit that refracts light off of her so that she can become completely invisible whenever she wants, that would be something that could help. And maybe like something on her suit or herself that helps refract light in very specific locations. So it can work kind of like, somebody shining a flashlight in your eye and blinding you. But besides sneaking around and besides refracting light at people, she is not that powerful. She's not physically strong. I mean, she hasn't even proved if she's any sorts of strong, really. She seems average intelligence, and I don't see a lot of potential for her quirk. I can't see, besides what I've already stated about what she can improve on her suit, what, like, if she has any potential. I just don't see it, and I don't think that she has a lot of potential, but that is going to be our 20th spot. Coming in at number 19, it's kind of sad because he's such a sweet boy, but Coda. Now, Coda's quirk, if you don't know, is being able to communicate with animals. And while on the surface, that seems like a really good quirk. First off, his personality kind of contrasts with that because being able to speak to animals means you need to be brave. And over time, he's been slowly learning to be more and more brave. But as that's happened, he's learned to speak to larger and larger creatures. Now, I'm not saying large as in like tigers or bears or sharks or whatever. He's gone from small insects such as ants and beetles to birds. And the best that we've seen out of him so far is talking and communicating and commanding some birds. We have not seen anything bigger than that or anything more powerful than that. So, what do I think he can improve with this? Well, I don't know if he already has this because he wears a mask as a part of his suit. But if he wears a mask that increases the range of his voice so that it reaches farther, or increases its potency so that he can talk and command larger animals. Now, the one thing that's obviously going to entail with Koda's quirk is him, you know, working harder and working smarter so that he can communicate with larger and larger animals, because that's really going to help in the future. Now, it's never been shown or proven whether or not he can do it, but even if he can only communicate with smaller animals, that might be really good for reconnaissance. Now, for physical and mental strength, we've never actually seen him prove whether or not he's super smart or he's super strong. So, to give him the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to say that he has base intelligence. Um, yeah, but that's Koda. I really like Koda's character, and I feel like he should be talked about more, and he should have a lot more development in the show. He's really good guy, and I feel like if you maybe even gave him like a 2-3 episode arc where he learns to tame nature, or he learns to get over his fears, or something like that, that would be really cool. But unfortunately, Koda's not one of the main characters, so he's not going to be getting a lot of development in the show. But Koda is currently sitting in our 19th spot, so let's move on to number 18. And as much as I hate to say it, as much as I hate to put him here, I'm going to have to put Shoji at number 18. Now, before you get upset, let me just address this real quick. Shoji's quirk is, I can't remember the exact name of it, but he has these wings, I guess you could call them, coming out of his back. And each tip of the wing can extend a different bodily function, like an eye, a nose, an ear, or a mouth. It can't create other arms. If it created other arms, Shoji would be higher up on this list. But unfortunately, it's just something that pertains to the five senses besides touch. So Shoji himself is actually pretty strong, but that's not really gonna play too well into this list, because there are characters that are much stronger than he is, and while he could hold his own in a one-on-one, it's just not his style. Shoji is much more of a reconnaissance character, but Shoji has proven himself to be a really smart character, and he's also proven himself, like I've said, to be physically strong. And although his quirk itself isn't that powerful, he could. I don't see a lot of development, because I feel like where he's at is probably the best he's going to get out of his quirk. I mean, the best he could probably do with this is increase how far he can hear and how far he can see and how hard he can, or how far he can yell with his mouth. So besides just increasing his quirk in general, I can't see anything that would help advance his quirk at all. So that's something, and that's why Shoji comes in at number 18. I hate to put him here because I really like his character, and I would absolutely love to see more of him, but unfortunately, this is where we're going to end up putting him. Yeah. And finally, coming in at the last spot on the bottom four, for our 17th spot, we are going to put Mineta. Now, a lot of people are going to debate this in the comments. A lot of people are going to say that Mineta has a lot of potential, but potential is about as far as he gets right now. That's about as good as he gets. It's been shown throughout the show that Mineta isn't exactly the smartest character, besides when he's trying to be pervish. He did have one moment where he outsmarted Miss Midnight, or Lady Midnight. God, I can never remember her name, but he outsmarted her and trapped her. But besides that, there hasn't been much we've seen out of Mineta. It looks like he's average intelligence, but it seems like his intelligence increases when he's doing something that's pervish or something that's pervy. Uh, his quirk is probably the only reason why he's up here right now, because he's certainly not physically strong, but his quirk is probably one of the most unique quirks you will see out of any class 1A student. And it's he can pull these purple balls off of his head and stick them to objects, and anything that touches it is automatically stuck to it and it can't be removed. But it doesn't stick to him and he bounces right off of it, which is a really unique quirk, and I would love to see Mineta learn how to use this quirk in unique ways in the future. Because Mineta necessarily wouldn't have to get too strong. All he would have to do is be incredibly smart and learn where to put his balls, the little grapes he has on his head, all around like the field of battle. He could potentially be really good at stopping people who are running away from crimes and things like that. All he has to do is stick them to the ground or stick them, to them, and they just can't go anywhere, and he captures them. He'd be a really good capture hero. And if he ever has to get into combat, he could just throw his sticky balls all around whatever room he's in, if he's in a closed area, and then just bounce off of the balls and then overwhelm his opponent with trajectory. For that, I would love to see Mineta work with someone like Gran Torino, who does that like all the time with his quirk, which is Jet. And I feel like if Mineta worked with Gran Torino, that would be really cool and really unique. I feel like that would be something really nice that we'd be able to see out of like the people who make My Hero Academia, specifically Horikoshi and the other creators. So although Mineta has a lot of potential, that's pretty much what's carrying him here, because mental power, he's average. Physical power, he's average, but potential is through the roof. So yeah, for that he makes it at our number 17 spot. So now we are finally out of the bottom 4, and now we are finally reaching the next tier, which is the bottom 8. And for our 16th spot, we're going to be putting Oijiro. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Oijiro. He's an awesome character, he has a lot of potential, but his quirk is pretty basic. He has a human tail. Now, his quirk isn't super powerful, but it can be incredibly useful. When it comes to mental strength, he seems to be a little above average, simply by the way he was able to discover what Shinso's ability was without ever knowing it or without anybody ever telling him, and attacking people at their weak points, etc., etc. But Oijiro is also physically stronger than your average UA student if you're talking just about muscles, and his tail backs that up well as well. So the problem with him is, unlike a lot of the other characters that we might see on this list, his quirk isn't super powerful and it isn't going to do a lot of damage. But for Oijiro, the potential he has is really high. So let me explain. Personally, I think that Oijiro should learn multiple forms of martial arts, and advanced forms of martial arts at that. If he can learn an advanced form of martial arts that implements his tail as like a third extension of his body, arms, feet, and his tail, he could be an unstoppable whirlwind of kicks and punches. He would be so good at that if only he learned super advanced martial arts. If he learned how to do that, and if the creators actually developed him further like that, he would easily be top 8. Probably not top 4, but he would easily be top 8. But the problem is, he's also another side character that hasn't gotten a lot of screen time, so at the end of the day, we can only hope that he'll get the character development that he deserves. So Unfortunately, he is going to be coming in at number 16. Now we're going to be moving on to number 15. And for number 15, we are going to be bringing out my boy, Aoyama. Now, why does Aoyama make it at 15? Why does he not make it higher? Well, let me explain. Aoyama's quirk is also pretty simple to understand. Aoyama can shoot a laser out of his navel, aka his belly button. This light is classified as a laser beam. It's a very powerful laser beam. It's very strong. Can cut through stone. Can, I think, cut through metal. And if you've watched the Heroes Rising movie, you can see how powerful this quirk can get. It can get to, I'm not going to say Kamehameha level because that's DBZ, and putting any move in the My Hero Academia verse as a Kamehameha level attack would just be massively overpowering him. But he can make energy or laser attacks that are similar to the Kamehameha. And that would be really cool. But his drawback from his quirk is if he uses it too much, he gets sick to his stomach and he starts puking. So that's a problem because when he uses it in big bursts, suddenly he's not able to function anymore and he's puking and it really hurts him, etc., etc. So he wears a belt that helps him focus his laser and helps it not leak out, etc., etc. I think Aoyama has a lot of potential. I don't think as much as someone like Mineta or Oijiro, but he has a lot. One thing that would be really cool specifically for him is if he developed a suit that could refract light, much like Hagakure does with her skin, but it refracts his laser throughout the inside of his suit so he can shoot it out of different ends of the suit. If he could learn to shoot it not just out of his navel, and if he had a suit that refracted it within his suit and shot it out of his hands, he could basically be like an Iron Man type character shooting the laser beams out of his hands. Now, I don't know if that's possible because it's never been shown, but if it is, that would be super cool for him to do. But naturally, all he has to do is keep strengthening the quirk, keep it up, and overall just work on not puking after he uses it too much. But he makes it in at our number 15 spot. Sorry, I lost count for some reason. So now we get to number 14. Number 14 was difficult because there were two specific characters that I was kind of throwing back and forth in my head. But I feel like the character that makes it in at this spot is Sato. Now, why does Sato make it in at number 14? Because his drawback is a major disadvantage. And I'll tell you why. His quirk is Sugar Rush. The more sugar that he intakes, the stronger he gets. But whenever Sato, eats or digests too much sugar, suddenly it becomes, I think he goes into diabetic shock. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, hold on. Let me look at it real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah, I just looked it up because I completely forgot what the after effect was. And the after effect is, in fact, he gets really sleepy if he takes in too much, or not takes in too much sugar when he's run out of that sugar rush. Every 10 grams of sugar that he intakes increases his strength and increases how strong he is for an extra 3 minutes. So that's what his quirk does. The problem is the drawback, because obviously Sato can't keep carrying around you can't carry around 60 a ton of sugar around that you can just keep refueling with in the middle of a fight. Not to mention, if he does that and a villain notices that he's refueling using sugar, they'll just destroy the sugar that he has on him and then he's done for. But the second that sugar rush runs out, he gets super sleepy, and that's the reason why he's so low. If that weakness wasn't so destructive to him, he could be in the middle or top 8 depending on how strong he is, period. Now, for physical strength without his quirk, he seems to be a decently built guy. He seems to be stronger than a lot of the other heroes, much like Oijiro, but more. And intelligence hasn't really been proven yet because it seems like he's just more of a brawler, but he does know how to bake. So that's something. What do I see any potential with Sato? Um Personally, I don't see too much potential with him, but I think what he could do, or what the creators could do with his character, is they could have Sato learn how to fight without his quirk, and then make that Sugar Rush his last resort, and make that his ace in the hole. So if things get too dire, he can just take that quick Sugar Rush and then get back into a fight for 3 minutes. I think it would be really unique. So yeah, Sato makes it in at our number 14 spot, and honestly, I think he could be done better, but I don't know. We'll see in the future. Hopefully, he gets more screen time. Hopefully, all the characters that have been shown get more screen time. Maybe not. Yeah, I'd just like to see. Maybe I'd like to see Mineta get a little bit better. So we've already gotten through 7. And we are on number 13. So with number 13, we're going to be listing Mina. Mina is going to make it in at number 13. Now, why does she make it at number 13? Because her quirk, while it does seem super powerful, I don't see it advancing any further than it already is. Her quirk, if you don't know, is acid, and she can shoot and create acid and then fire it out of her body. So we saw Mina use acid to slide around on the battlefield in the sports festival arc. And in the Heroes Rising movie, she shot acid out of her hands. At least I think she shot acid out of her hands. I'm gonna have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure she shot acid out of her hands. But I don't see her quirk going up any further than it already is, because I mean, she can create acid, and that's really much. That's pretty much it. Now, what she uses the acid for already is really good. I don't know if it could be done any better, if I'm being honest, but yeah. So she's used it to slide around, she's used it to shoot out of her hands, and I don't know. I think she's melted metal. She might have been able to melt metal. I'm not 100% sure. But when it comes to intelligence, I think she might be average intelligence. When it comes to physical strength, she isn't physically strong, but she is agile. So that's something. And then, of course, her potential. Does she have a lot of potential for growth? Can she be a really good hero? I think she could be a really good hero, but I think she should just work on what she's already done, because I don't think she can advance any further with what she already has. So Mina comes in at our number 20. She comes in at our 13th spot. So now we are done with the. Oh, sorry, that's an alarm. So we just finished with our bottom tier. So sorry if this is taking a bit too long. I'm trying to explain my reasoning for putting each character where they are. This video is really long. Sorry about that, but we're going to continue. The next character to make it on this list, or the 12th spot, is going to be Sero. Now, Sero's quirk is he can shoot tape from his elbows, and that's it. Now, where other characters can create different, like, types of their own quirk, like, what am I trying to say here? I don't know, but Sero can only create, like, just tape. There isn't, like, other kinds of tape he can create. And when he uses too much tape, I think his elbows hurt. I think they might start bleeding or something like that. But what I think... So, Sero, physically, he's strong. He's stronger than average, but I don't think he's up there with some of the stronger people in the class. Intelligence, I think he might be a wee bit below average, but he hasn't had enough screen time to actually prove it. So I'm just taking shots in the dark here, but what do I think about potential with his quirk and with his character? So his quirk obviously doesn't have any real potential because he can't shoot tape in different ways or shoot different kinds of tape. He can only do what pretty much he's already been doing. But what I will say about him is he can definitely change like the way he does things. So right now all we've seen at Acero is he's been able to tie people up and like pull them around and like swing them and stuff like that. He's been able to lift people as he's swinging away, much like Spider-Man. But I think one thing that Zero could learn is acrobatics and specifically mid-air combat. If he can learn how to fight whilst in the middle of the air, then he might never need to actually touch the ground. He could basically become the My Hero Academia universe's Spider-Man and learn how to dodge in the air and be super nimble and stuff like that. And if he learns to do that, then he could easily be I'd probably consider him a top 8 character if he perfected mid-air combat. That would be really good, but Zero makes it on that list because while he has a little bit of potential and while he's proven himself to be a decent hero, I feel like his quirk itself is pretty basic. And yeah, but I don't get me wrong, I love Zero. I think he deserves so much more screen time and he deserves so many more good things coming his way. So after Zero, we're going to list who is number, gosh, I'm doing it again, I'm blanking. Give me 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. Number 11. I'm going to be listing number 11. Number 11 is going to be Jiro. Now, why am I putting Jiro at number 11? So, while Jiro herself is a good hero, her quirk itself, like the quirk, is very weak. Her quirk is she has earphone jacks coming out of her ears, but she's learned through using gadgets that she can basically amplify her heartbeat and then shoot it out as sonic waves and as blast. Now, as strength and like her strength in general, I think she's weaker. She doesn't have a lot of strength. She's definitely not average. And intelligence is above average. I don't know how above average she is, but she's certainly smart. Her quirk doesn't have a lot of potential. So pretty much the only sound she can amplify is her heartbeat, but all that matters is how hard she can amplify it and in what fashion. Can she amplify it in ranged attacks, like through the air, or can she only do it through the ground? That's what matters. So if she can learn to do what Shindo did, by the way, Shindo was the guy from, I think it was Shigetsu High, who was able to vibrate the ground. If she can learn how to use different frequencies to create different power earthquakes, that would be super cool. But the other part that's really unique about her quirk is that she can actually use her earphone jacks, plug them into the ground, and then sense when people are coming, which is really good for reconnaissance. So at the end of the day, Jiro doesn't have a lot of potential. She can only just work with what she has, which is amplifying her heartbeat. So, yeah, that's about it. Now, next we're going to be talking about, where are they? Yes, here they are. The next spot on our list is going to go to none other than Tenya Ida. While Ida himself is a good character, his quirk itself isn't something super special. He has engines in his calves that increase his speed. But the problem with that is the more he increases the speed, the hotter his calves get. Or the engine calves get, and they tend to overheat. So he can't use them anymore. And it's not super powerful. While Ida is I think he's either the smartest or the second smartest person in the class, and while he's stronger than average, his quirk itself is kind of lacking. That's really rough for me to say because I love Ida, but it isn't a powerful type quirk. It isn't going to do a lot of damage. It's mostly based on martial combat. Now, for potential, obviously Ida does this procedure where every time he lets his exhaust pipes grow out of his cast and then he cuts them off, which makes them stronger. Uh, the problem is with the heating problem, and if he can somehow seek even Mei Hatsume at the UA Academy, if he can seek her and somehow make modifications to his suit that allow him to cool down his calves, much like Todoroki did in the Stain fight, whenever he wants, then that would really help with his quirk. I wouldn't say that would put him top 8 or top 4, but this is probably the best that Tenya gets because he isn't a super powerful type. Like I said, he's much more focused on like martial art types and specifically kicking. So yeah, I think he's gonna be a really good capturing hero and a really good like hero that saves people, and he'll be good for close quarters combat, but not as good as the other people coming up. So for that, Tenya Ida makes it. He makes it at number 10. Now we are finally getting in. So Ida made it top 10. Here are the other 10. Coming in at number 9, we have none other than. Gosh, where is she? Oh, there she is. Sue. Sue comes in at number 9 because she's really smart. I think she's probably the strongest girl besides. She's probably the second strongest girl in the UA class, and her quirk is so unique. So her quirk is she has the same properties as a frog. And while at first those only attain to she can jump really high, stick to walls, and she has a really long tongue, it soon became apparent that it wasn't just that. Because as we see in the Heroes Rising movie, she's both able to turn invisible and she's able to create toxins that temporarily paralyze people, which is really cool. Her quirk is so diverse, and that's what really put her up here. And it's the fact that if she combines this with several different types of martial arts in the future, she can become an incredibly dangerous hero. So Sue makes it up top. She makes it up at number 9. Yeah, she has a lot of potential with her quirk. I think she's probably reached like the most amount of abilities she has, unless there are more frog type abilities. But where she's at right now is really good. And if she became a pro hero right now, she'd be mad deadly. But let's move on to number 8. So at number 8, I'm going to put. Oh, come on, just work with me. Uraraka. Now, I think I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt and putting her in the top 8. I do not think she's top 4, and I think this is probably the best out of everybody that she's gonna get. But Uraraka has the quirk that she can make anything that she touches weightless. Now, the way that her quirk works is the heavier the object or the more she uses her quirk, the more nauseous she gets and she ends up puking. The problem or no, yeah, actually the problem is that Uraraka really needs to work on her quirk. Now, she already has a lot, and you can tell because at the beginning of My Hero Academia, she's only able to stop Deku from falling to the ground before she pukes and nearly passes out. But when you get to somewhere like the Heroes Rising movie, or even just where we're at in the manga and the anime, she has increased her quirk so much. Just looking at the UA Sports Festival, the way that she was able to lift all of those rocks with her quirk and still not pass out somehow is beyond astounding, the growth that she's had. I feel like she needs more growth, and I feel like she needs more support items. And I know she gets 2 in the future. One it's a weight belt, that goes around her waist that, obviously prevents her from floating too much. And secondly, she gets capturing tape in these special gauntlets on her suit that she can shoot out, wrap people up, and, obviously capture them. And it's really good. Or even like wrap up objects, make them weightless, and then throw them. And it's really good. But I feel like she needs a little bit more development before she gets even close to being top 4. But from what I've seen, she's above average intelligence because of the way that she's able to outthink her opponents, and she was even able to outthink Bakugo, who, in and of himself, he's a smart guy. And I think for strength, I think she's definitely the strongest out of all of the others. I think she's definitely the strongest character out of every other, unless Sue is somehow the strongest. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's a toss-up between those two. But her quirk has a lot of potential. She has a lot of potential, and I would love to see more out of her in the future, but for now, she makes it top 8. Now we are going to go to our number 7. Number 7, we have... This is really difficult because I've been tossing up these two characters for a while, and I think I finally figured it out. But number 7 is definitely Kaminari. Now, before you go to the comments and get upset, let me explain. Kaminari has a unique quirk. He's able to discharge electricity, and he's able to discharge a lot of electricity, but it also drastically hurts him. If he outputs too much electricity, it can both hurt other people and it can hurt himself, basically making him dumber. And it makes him more of a nuisance on the battle than it does an actual help if he uses too much. Now, he's recently compensated for that by, equipping discs that he can shoot his electricity at, but even so, those are really worked for just like accurate shots. If he ever really needs to overpower somebody, he's gonna have to use that discharge ability of his. And if he does, that's a one and done deal. It's either it works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, he's doomed. But yeah, that's Kaminari. For intelligence, it's obvious. I think he's the lowest IQ out of everybody in the class. He's basically just the dunderhead idiot. But for strength, I'm not even sure if he's super strong. I don't think it's been proved how physically strong he is, but his quirk has a lot of it has a lot of potential, just like we've seen through his ranged attacks with the frisbees. And even if he's able to output his discharge at different levels, if he's able to do like a small one or a big one, he has to learn to control his quirk before he makes it up higher. But for now, for those reasons, Kaminari makes it at number 7. Now, for number 6. Number 6 is going to go to Yaoyorozu. Why does Yaoyorozu make it at number 6? So her quirk is... Okay. Her quirk is called, creation. And using fats and lipids in her body, she's able to create any object that she already knows what it's made out of. So, for example, if she was going to create, a cell phone, she has to know what it's actually made out of and what it's, basically what it's designed for. So, if she wants to create a basic flip phone, she has to know that it's made out of metal. She has to know that, it has circuits and stuff like that, and then she can create it. But the problem is she needs to constantly be stocked up on fats and lipids, otherwise she can't create it, and it drains her a ton. So, at first, this quirk didn't seem like it was going to be that good. But once we learned how powerful this quirk could potentially be, we soon learned that Momo's ability, the only limits to it are both her own mind and how much fats and lipids she has stored in her body. And when it comes to mentally, she is either the smartest or the second smartest. It's a toss-up between her and Tenya. But they are the smartest characters in the class, and Momo is no slouch when it comes to strength. I feel like she's probably the third strongest female in the class, but her quirk has so much potential. simply because the limits of it are based on her own imagination. I mean, she's created cannons. I think she created like a giant hunk of metal. She created, I think, an exothermic blanket that was able to repel electricity. She created a catapult and so much more. So I would love to see Momo get some more. I'd love to see her get some better, like, how do I say this? I'd love like better development in the future, and I'd love to see her become a really powerful character because she has a lot of potential with that quirk of hers. But that's going to be that for number 6, and we are finally down to our top 5. And when we get to this is our 5th place character. 5th place goes to Kirishima. Now, Kirishima's quirk isn't super powerful. It isn't really strong. Now, Kirishima himself is really strong. He's one of the strongest characters in the class, if not the strongest. But his quirk is he can harden his body. And while at first he could only do it to a small degree, he soon learned to become literally unbreakable. Well, theoretically unbreakable because he did break under Rappa's punches. But still, the reason why he makes it top 5 is because his quirk is so good for defense, and if he learns how to only harden certain parts of his body in the future, he can become an unstoppable machine. So, like, imagine if he made, like, just his arm unbreakable. He could literally pierce any wall he wanted to at any point in time. If only Kirishima learned how to do that, he could easily be a top 4 character. But he makes it top 5 simply because when he's using that hardening ability, it makes it incredibly difficult for him to move. Or specifically, Red Riot Unbreakable, it makes him incredibly hard to like move around and stuff. And plus, I think he's average intelligence, but besides that, Kirishima is a very good character, and he deserves a lot more development in the future. But now we're going to get to our top 4. And our 4th spot, unsurprisingly, is going to be Tokoyami. Tokoyami makes it top. Sorry, let's begin at the basics. Tokoyami's quirk is really unique. So his quirk is called Dark Shadow, which means he can create a shadowy figure that has a physical presence, and he can use it to do a lot of things. And well, at first he was only able to use it to like grab things or make quick attacks or stuff like that. He soon learned to use it to create extendable wings and claws and so many other things. But his quirk is also unique because when he's in the daylight, when there's a lot of light out, it's difficult for him to use his quirk effectively. But when he's in the nighttime, his quirk is at its, or when it's super dark, his quirk is at its strongest and potentially really dangerous because as we've seen throughout the anime and throughout the movies, when he's in the dark, it becomes nearly uncontrollable if he lets that rage go. And when he does, it truly comes to light how powerful his quirk is. Like, it's insanely strong. You should check out some clips online of how strong his quirk can be, but he easily makes a top 4. Not to mention, he took 3rd place in the UA Sports Festival, and he isn't even a main character. Tokoyami is criminally underrated, and he deserves so much more screen time. He's smart, he's not strong, but again, he doesn't need to be, and his quirk is super unique, and he can command Dark Shadow to do so many different things. The possibilities are endless, really. So I would love to see more unique stuff come out of Tokoyami in the future, and I'd love to see him like get a lot more development in the anime. But now we've got our top 3. You guys knew that these 3 were going to be the final 3 in the top, like at the very top. You knew that these were the 3 most powerful characters because obviously they've received the most screen time, and their quirks far outshine everybody else's. But now it's time to decide who is 3rd place. And that is going to be Todoroki. Todoroki makes it 3rd place because, well, first off, again, let's begin at the basics. His quirk is hot and cold. I think it's half ice, half fire. I don't know the specific name for it. but he's able to create both ice structures and fire structures, one from each side of his body. And he got the fire side from his father and the ice side from his mother. Um, and while this seems like a really powerful quirk, and while for a while he was easily the strongest character and most powerful character in class 1A, recently he's kind of been lacking. I'm not even gonna lie. We haven't seen too much power out of Todoroki ever since the Stain arc. Um, eh, well, I mean, he created that giant ice pillar in the third season, and I know he showed a lot of power during the licensing exam. But besides that, like season four, like very minimal Todoroki action, but he's incredibly smart. He's strong. I think he's average strength, but his quirk has a lot of potential. And while he doesn't outshine Bakugo and Midoriya, obviously because of the main characters, he's easily the strongest side character in the entirety of 1A. And in the future, you get to see it. Now, for weaknesses, he can overheat and he can like get frostbite if he uses too much of one side or the other. So it's a lot like Bakugo described it as a mana bar. If he uses too much of one side, it critically affects him. For example, fire burns his insides, ice gives him frostburn, etc., etc. But in the future, I would love to see more of Todoroki. I don't think he can increase. I don't think he can really, work on his quirk anymore. I don't think he can advance it any more than it already is. But at the end of the day, he's still the third strongest character in 1A. And now we are at the end. This is incredibly difficult. These two, like we've built up to, are the two strongest students in UA. And it's obvious because they're the two main characters, or Deku is the main character. But here we go. The second strongest student in all of UA is Deku. Okay, that's gonna piss some people off. So let me address something real quick. Deku cannot use 100% of his power. If Deku could use 100% of his power, he would be number one. He would easily be number one. We've seen what happens if he could use 100% of his power. But the problem is, I think at most in the manga right now he can use 40%, but in the anime he can only use up to 20 to 25%. And in the manga, he has he has a second quirk ability, and he's currently working on his third because he's gained the other quirks from the previous users. And if you don't already know, because obviously you haven't watched My Hero Academia, which why haven't you? He has One for All, which is a power that has been passed down through generations. It's a power that gets stronger every time it's passed down, and it's a stockpiling power. It just grants him immense strength, but now in the manga we've realized that he can use the previous quirks of other users, but right now he is not as strong as Bakugo. Deku is wickedly smart, and he is one of the stronger characters in the class without his quirk, but still, he is way overshadowed. He is not way overshadowed by Bakugo, but he is overshadowed by him. And honestly, I can't think of any way that Deku can currently improve it, but I know Horikoshi's going to show us soon. So finally, to end it all, Bakugo is the strongest character in class 1A. Bakugo's quirk is Explosion, or he can use the sweat that comes off of his body and then explode it. Now, that might seem like on paper like it's a weak quirk, but it's stupidly strong. He can create such strong explosions, and Bakugo has even proven himself to be stronger than Deku, and he did that in Season 3, but Bakugo, despite how he acts, he's really smart. I mean, like, really, really smart. And he's also really strong without his quirk as well. But The potential for his quirk, either using concentrated blasts or smaller explosions, is about all I can say for Bakugo. But then again, he's a main character, and there's not much that I can predict for his quirk, and I'm sure that the creators of My Hero Academia have much better ideas than I do for Bakugo. But I think it's easily safe to say that Bakugo is the strongest uh, quirk user in all of Class 1A. So if you made it to the end of the video, I'd like to thank you all for watching my first ever YouTube video. And secondly, I'd like to give a channel update for this specific YouTube channel. First off, like I stated at the beginning of the video, or I didn't, I can't remember, I'm not going to be using a face cam simply because I don't want to, and I can't buy one. But if you guys want to see what I look like, and if you guys want to see more anime style content, please check out the link in the description. It's going to be my TikTok. And if you've come from TikTok, hey, what's up? Secondly, I'm going to be trying to upload on this channel as often as possible, but right now I'm looking at one upload per week for the YouTube channel. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay consistent with that, but I will certainly try my best. And that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. And if you disagree with me, or if I missed anything, or something like that, then please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it out. If you want to debate about it in the comments, then please let me know. But again, thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.